Welcome back to Andrew Blair Fishing. Today's video, we're going to show you my native TitanX 12.5 build. If you didn't watch the last video, we went up to Big Adventures and picked up our new TitanX 12.5 without a drive. We're doing a motorized build. So if you haven't seen that video, please check it out. Talk about why I swapped from the PWR to the native TitanX and why I didn't go with the native hammer or the XTR 130. But this video is about the Titan. So without further ado, let's head to my shop. It is a cold and gloomy day, so let's warm up in the garage and show you probably my favorite build that I've done to date. Here she is in all of her glory, the native TitanX 12.5. Just before we get into the accessories here, if you're new to this platform, it is 12 foot 8 inches long, despite what they say 12.5. It is 40 inches wide, 138 pounds unfitted, and then with the seat and the drive, we don't have a drive, 178. So it's gonna be around 150 pounds, 155 pounds. But the last time you saw this boat, we were unwrapping it, and the poor PWR is back here. It has a new home, it is sold. Thank you to the ones that reached out asking. But let's start breaking it down like we always do. We'll start from the front, go to the back, and show you guys the build. All right, so the TitanX 12.5. We're not gonna go into the details again on why I chose this over others, but we'll start from the front. Again, we are very simplistic. We're a stern mounted motor here, so we have nothing on the bow. What we wanna talk about here is how I ran my yak power and my battery for my graph. So you can see here we have our front nav lights. When we demonstrate the yak power connection to the fish finder, I'll show you how those turn on. Let's go ahead and open our hatch. And this is how I have my battery stored. We have a 12 volt ionic up here to power our graph. What's nice about the Titan is if you pull your battery up, there is a transducer slot here. You can see the little runner right there. So we've just zip tied nicely our transducer cable, and we've run both of them underneath this cable management tie down here into the bucket. Now as for the yak power, I did tap this into my bucket here. It is Velcroed because I did not want to screw it. The yak power is Velcroed here. We ran a small 1-inch hole so we could run our wiring here so it's all nice and consolidated. And in the end, I want to still be able to use this bucket for things. Essentially, I want to put a first aid kit up here. That's one of the parts I have not gotten in yet. My first aid kit will be accessible up here, right, and removable. And I don't want to tie up this whole bucket with just electronics. So obviously that's going to feed through to our navigation lights. And these are little stick-on nav lights. I'll drop a link in the description. These are my favorites. You'll see why when we turn them on. All right, moving to the front bridge area here. Now, if you notice, I mounted this captain's bridge a little lower than with the quick release bases. And that's just to save height here. I wanted our view angle to be a lot lower down, right? Clear our path for casting. And how we mounted our captain's bridge is with a 90-degree attachment from YakAttack. And then we just went through and put our bolt through the back of the captain's bridge into these runners here, right? We're not running our drive. I don't have to worry about folding this up or bringing this up. So this space I wanted as low as possible, right? So that's how we mounted our captain's bridge. And I put a little bit of overhang just so our tools don't hit anything and you have clearance. Unlike the Bonafide build, we have swapped to the Lowrance Elite FS9. If you haven't seen the video on how to link your FS9 to your yak power system, so it pops up like that for your controller, I'll leave a little tab for the video right there. We show you how to do that process. But we are swapped to the Elite FS9, right? We already showed you how we ran our cabling into our hatch here to our 12 volt. And just a note, again, I'll always say it, tie your battery directly to your finder. Do not run your finder through your yak power to your battery, right? Separate circuit. It won't overload the battery or cause issues. So while we have this thing turned on, we'll go ahead and show you our nav lights. It says easy, B for bow, and here we go. So this is how we have our nav lights right here. And these LEDs are amazing. They're stick-on, they're small, they're bright, and putting them in that section right there is a nice, it illuminates the gunnels right here, the drain gunnel, and these are just stick-on. These go on nice and clean, they stick on, and if you can tell on the front side there, there's a small hole, but the way the wire comes out of the LED itself, you can completely stick over it and there's no chance of water getting in. So for how we mounted the Elite FS9 to our captain's bridge, again, I wanted it lower. I put T-bolts through the factory screw holes on the cradle for the Lowrance, right? And I just used some twist knobs from YakAttack to secure that down. And it's extremely stable. I can loosen them and slide it around if I want. But more importantly, it keeps them lower. So none of this is in our way when we're sight casting and doing certain things. I can still angle it and see it. And it's as low as humanly possible to the captain's bridge. On the bridge itself, you have the one objective accessory tray here. And I hang lures on this more than anything now, and you'll see why in a minute, and put my pliers and things of that nature up here that I need in front of the boat. But great accessory, bolts to the bow of the captain's bridge, and it clears everything underneath, so you don't have any problems. You could also potentially put some sort of storage up there if you want, mount a track pack right here if you want, but for now, this is how we're setting it up. So this roto grip here is obviously for our net. Pops right in. This is actually the park and pole one. It's not the paddle grip one. It's the bigger wheels, and this fits my net perfectly. This is just a cheap net from Bass Pro, and I want to keep my net out of the way, but in reach when I'm netting the fish. So it's easily accessible, pops out, net your fish, put it back, do what you need to do. So how I mounted the Total Scan 3-in-1 transducer, that is a YakHobby Titan bracket. And that just, again, goes right into that little well in the front hatch, but side scan and down scan is still able to be used. It's about 1/4 to 1/8 of an inch from the hull itself, and you can adjust it as you want. But this bracket has been great, super easy install, and tucks it up in there nice. The camera pole, self-explanatory. What I want to talk about on this side is from Big Bass Chris. He sells these block off rod tube deletes, and I've installed my Yak Power accessory port here. This is direct run. We're going to put our little Type-C cable from here up this pole to our DJI camera for when we're out there taking the fish videos. But yeah, screwed it right in, and we replaced both sides. This potentially could have a secondary port for like charging my phone and stuff too. But yeah, rod tube deletes were almost a must for me. I don't use the rod tube storage. So I know the Titan has the forward-facing rod tube for when you catch fish, but I net fish on my right, my rod goes left, so I just put a little rear-facing rod holder there. I can spin it around if I need to, if I want to, put a secondary rod. But this is here just to manage my rod while I'm hanging out with fish. So we do not have a drive, right? So if you can, there is a foam insert in here. It is from Native to block the scupper. It is just a foam, big thick piece of foam that goes inside here. And you have to do a little bit of drilling into this cover here, and you tie it off so it secures it to the bottom of this plate here. But nothing special right there. And obviously we removed some of the latches just because if we don't need to latch a drive, there's no point in having a latch. One of the biggest complaints with the Titan series is it is a wet ride. And one of the parts I have not gotten in yet, it is a DIY video coming soon. We got the Old Town short scupper, self-draining plugs, right? They're green and gray. I'll drop a link below. And you tap, drill your hole right through this scupper here. And what's cool is the Old Town scuppers will fit inside of here. So I can drill a hole right where that dirt is on top of here, and these plugs, and it will self-drain. So these are some of the things I'm waiting on, but that is a nice solution to the wet ride. Honestly, it's not too wet when you're just fishing off of it anyways. I haven't found an issue, especially with the scupper plug in your drive well. But the self-draining scuppers are on the way soon. We'll do a video on that one when they get here. Seats. All right, so we already talked about the swivel seat stuff, right? All my attachments from the XTR seat came over to the Titan. On this one, yet again, we have our Mariner Sails locking swivel right? This time I cut the spring on that so it doesn't manually close it. I can free swivel or close that and lock it in place. So we put our attachments back on the side here, YakGadget side mount with our NK300 controller, and then the Millenium Marine attachment here with cup holder and where we keep our scissors. Moving to the left side, strong side. We got the paddle holder. So I did not use the double header in this iteration, this build. I actually prefer to do the 4-inch extensions with the grip holders. It secures it a little more than the other one would, and it doesn't wobble. And with the hull being completely horizontal, it's not leaning or tipping forward and backwards. So we went back to the 4-inch extension around the rudder controls because we're not using this, right? We're motor driven. And that's how we mounted our paddle on this one. Moving back to the landing gear, I decided to go with the Boondocks Groovy landing gear instead of the Sidekick for three reasons. One, I hate the color red. Sounds wild, but the Sidekick has the red powder coated stuff on it. No, I'm not a fan. No red. But that's not the main reason. The main reason is the Groovy landing gear has the slotted track on top. So I'm not losing track space, I'm gaining track space, which you could see I've mounted my double header for my board, right? And the main thing with mounting and swivel seats, we talked about this in the PWR, you need to be able to spin your seat around and not hit your accessories. So we mounted our board up here, keeps it off the deck, keeps it high, not in the way of our rod tubes on our black pack. And then this is for my stakeout pole, my 6-foot stakeout pole. It pops in right here and it goes along the side of the kayak there. Another benefit to the Groovy landing gear is weight capacity. It actually has a higher weight capacity load than the Sidekicks do, and it has fixed rubberized wheels, okay? These are Rail Blaza wheels that come from the factory with them. They're rubberized, they're hardened, they're not deflatable. And overall, I think the system's a lot easier to use, a little more refined, and again, you gain a whole bunch of track space for other accessories, which, if you can see there, that's where I mount my boomstick. So the battery bin, we did slide our seat forward a little bit, okay? Our battery bin is where we house our 36 volt for our NK300, our lifetime 36 volt. We do have our boomstick, like I said, on the Groovy landing gear, but a lot of people are like, oh, does the landing gear get in the way of getting to your battery? If you want to take the battery out of the hull, yes, right? I would have to loosen and slide the landing gear out of the way. But let me just open this up and I'll show you what I do to set up the NK300 and to charge it. So it makes it a lot easier when you don't have your black pack in here. So for the sake of this, we're gonna just take the black pack out so you guys can see what I do. But these rubberized latches here just open up, right? And this pops off and slides back. And if you can see here, I have enough room now to grab my cabling, okay, out of this. And what I do, this cable is long enough to run all the way to my charger on the wall, okay, if I need to. It's tucked up in the hole nicely. But when I run my NK300, it comes out into the runner, and then I can close my battery bin like so. So the battery's protected, right? And we have our cabling here coming out under the runner, and the black pack sits on top of our cable. So with the black pack back on, first off, shout out to Justin Faircloth. He did a little video showing staggered rod tubes, and now my reel handles don't hit. So shout out to you, dude. Appreciate the tip. Comes out right back here, plugs in, and we're Gucci. Now, a lot of people run their controller cable through the hull. I don't want to do that until I find caps that fit this end nicely, like a rubber cap. So for now, I do basically the same thing. I run my controller wire through here, right? Run it through this pole. It goes underneath the landing gear, and when these bungees are on, it goes along the side and plugs in. It's not a big deal. When I'm done, it goes in the short stack up top and it's out of the way. I don't want to run or leave a chance if I'm leaving the kayak in the weather. I don't want those diodes to corrode, right? We have dielectric grease in it, but potentially I would like it to come out here or even tap through the storage spot right here to do it. But it works as is. It's just a cable, it's not a big deal. And I have less chance of corroding or anything getting in it to cause issues with connection to the controller and the motor. NK300 mounted directly. We're running our Anchor Wizard yet again for a motor lift system. I'll show you how I run the cable, but just for a close up here, we have carabiner to the first hole here, runs up through a pulley into another carabiner on the lift arm. And then we ran this one through this eyelet to keep it straight. And we'll demonstrate the Anchor Wizard in a second. But how we ran our foot steering, if you can see right there, we flanged out some 1/4 inch tubing. We're not using the inserts that Native and Bonafide sell. This is actual tubing, right? And that's ran all the way up to right there. If you can see it come out, ideally this is the most straight line of sight we could find that doesn't impact rubbing and smooth steering. We're gonna fabricate something to block this off so the wire's not exposed. But for now, it comes out here into our FCS Wizard steering. So on the Titan, it does come with 2 stock bolts right there. It directly bolts up. So if you have the FCS Wizard or are looking to get it, you do not need to tap or do any mounting modifications to the hull. Screw there, and you're good. And like I said, we ran tubing, not inserts, right? Because if we're running cabling through our power link plates, we did not want the potential of the wire getting entangled, right? So the tube goes straight all the way back and prevents tangling internally to the hull if we decide to run button lights through here or put another accessory item in our power link plates. Seen it before, you're gonna see it again. Motor lift. Had a spare Anchor Wizard. So we decided to do a motor lift system via Anchor Wizard. Straight line of sight, we're running YakAttack eyelets. Yet again, our groovy landing gear allows us to put one up top and then one there. And it's very simple, one-handed up. And I'm doing this one-handed while holding a phone to film this. So it's very easy. You can pop it down. I don't like hitting the button because it could slam the hull, but yeah, very simple lift. And I know a lot of people like doing the cable pulleys, but me personally, I do not like running cable up to the front and looping it around. This is easier, it's right next to me. And it only takes like 4 total turns to get the motor up when I do need to pull it up, right? I don't like the rip pull latch. I net on this side, hooks and stuff get everywhere. I just do not need some sort of cabling to get messed up. I could run it internally into a pulley and have it come out of that plate, but that's a little low to pull. And yet again, this works, it's clean, it's short, and I don't have to do any other drilling to kind of wire tuck. Overall though, for the NK300 on the Titan X12.5, I'm more than impressed with speed and efficiency, right? Not only is this boat extremely stable in choppy water, we're gonna go ahead and just take you to the water and show you our initial impression of a speed test. All right, so speed test. Let's pick it up and go. We're gonna ride at 6.4. 6.4. Sorry, got a little squirrely at the end there. We had some chop hit us. 6.4 in a TitanX with the 300. We're gonna do more. We're obviously just going to the ramp first impression. All right, let's just get back to the build then. You know, when the Titan first kind of came out and the first few times I saw it, I was a little skeptical on the size, right? And that's something to be said about this kayak. It looks big, it feels big, but it's not. It paddles fantastic. I've had an absolute pleasure fishing off of this boat in choppy, cold conditions, right? Where you feel a little uncomfortable fishing in something a little more narrow. But it's not a barge, like straight up. I originally thought this kayak was gonna be extremely heavy. It is, but it's not, right? Once you're on the water, it's not. And after fishing off of it, catching fish on it, bump boarding, going through chop, really bad conditions in the winter, is it my favorite to date? It's definitely up there, and I highly recommend it. We're not going to go into the differences between the rest of the kayaks. That's for a later video comparing all of the kayaks I've owned. But I 100% am blown away with how easy this kayak is to rig. Okay, from a rigging standpoint, this was a pleasure. Everything is set up correctly. There's features like the hole pass-through for your transducer cable. Tip of the hat, that's genius. Shout out to Yak Gadget, your bracket made it super easy to install. I didn't have to fabricate my own brackets like normal. And just overall, the layout of the kayak was very well thought out, right? Now again, this is a simple build. I'm not using forward facing. I'm not doing a lot of crazy stuff with it. I need mapping, side scan, down scan for when I fish a little deeper, but I need to be able to run shallow. So this setup right here is almost ideal. I can punch, I can frog, I can stand, but I can have the stability and feel safe in choppy, deep water, even when it's cold. Now, some of the things that we are waiting for to come in to complete this build, like I said, we're waiting for the self-draining Old Town short scuppers to come in to modify our scupper plugs. I also need a rear light, and I'm looking at a few different ones. I've narrowed it down to the Firefly light from Catch Products is where I'm gonna buy it. And we're gonna direct route our Firefly from the rear power link plate up to our Yak Power so we can control it, just like we're controlling our navigation lights on the bow. Something else that we're kind of looking at doing is replacing this junk drawer. I really don't like this. This is probably the only thing I don't like on the kayak. You can only get one 3600 series box on each side, and stacking them, it hits your pole. So what I'm gonna end up doing is finding something to fabricate some sort of tackle storage here, and I'm gonna unscrew the slider tray here. But that's minimalist kind of stuff that's modifying as we go, right? We'll take you through all those steps of the way as we're making these so I can share the ideas with you. But overall, extremely impressed. Definitely underestimated the efficiency of this boat. So hopefully you guys got some ideas for your Titan. If you're interested in upgrading, or if you have one, this build obviously isn't the stereotypical Titan build you see most people do with a lot of screens and stuff like that. And I like to keep things very efficient and simple so I can fish in deep water, but also be able to fish shallow and sight fish and stand up and not have a lot of obstructions. Be on the lookout for the next video though. We have some exciting news for both the channel and myself. We have started a new business venture that you guys aren't going to want to miss. But in the meantime, thank you guys for stopping by. If you learned something, enjoy the content, subscribe, follow along. As always, I appreciate y'all's support.